There's something unbelievable happening inside Team USA right now. And if you've been watching the situation unfold, you already know that the tension is getting close to breaking. For weeks, people have been wondering whether Caitlin Clark, arguably the biggest name in the sport, was going to step into the upcoming training camp without any issues. But suddenly, out of nowhere, a story surfaces that nobody expected. Team USA is reportedly forcing her to abandon her iconic number 22 and replace it with a number that means absolutely nothing to her identity, her career, or her brand. And that decision set off a chain reaction so intense that even longtime legends of the sport were caught off guard. According to multiple reports, Caitlin's response was immediate and firm. She allegedly told Team USA that if she couldn't wear her number, she simply wouldn't show up. No politics, no negotiating, no compromising on something she believes represents who she is as a player and as a public figure. And when that message reached Sue Bird, the managing director of Team USA, the reaction was reportedly anything but calm. People close to the situation describe her response as panicked, frustrated, and frantic as she tried to figure out how the situation spiraled out of control so quickly. To truly understand why this is turning into such a massive controversy, you have to look at how deeply connected Caitlin Clark is to the number 22. It isn't just a number she throws on before games. It's the symbol that's been attached to her story since her days at Iowa. The number that fans wear on jerseys, t-shirts, signs, and stickers. The number that appears in highlight clips that get tens of millions of views. And the number that brands build entire marketing strategies around. For many fans, 22 is almost shorthand for her entire playing style. The deep threes, the unbelievable passes, the fire, the poise, and the energy she brings every time she steps onto the floor. So imagine the shock people felt when reports surfaced showing she had been assigned number 17 instead. 17, an arbitrary number with zero connection to her past, zero relevance to her fan base, and zero emotional value to her. It immediately raised a very understandable question. Why would Team USA take the one player whose global influence is larger than the entire roster combined and strip away the symbol that has become synonymous with her rise? And why now, when her popularity has never been higher, and when she is already carrying the WNBA to new heights in ticket sales, viewership, and cultural relevance? Fans didn't hesitate to voice their outrage. Social media exploded within minutes of the report, with supporters insisting she should refuse to show up, demanding explanations, and calling out Team USA for what they saw as unnecessary disrespect. And honestly, once you look at the details, it becomes very hard to argue with them. This isn't a situation where the number was taken by a veteran or where the roster had a long-standing tradition attached to the number. In fact, the most surprising detail in all of this came when the official camp roster was released. No one, absolutely no one, was wearing number 22. That single detail changed everything. Before that, there was still room for people to assume this was some kind of logistical mix-up. Maybe the number was already locked in. Maybe a veteran had dibs on it. Maybe there was something behind the scenes fans weren't aware of. But when the roster came out and the number was completely unused, the controversy intensified instantly. Because if the number was open, then why force Caitlin to give it up? Why strip the most marketable player in the sport of her signature symbol for no reason? That's the exact moment when the story evolved from a number conflict to something deeper, something that felt intentional. And that is what sparked conversations about whether Team USA is struggling to accept how big Caitlin Clark has become and how much power she brings every time she steps onto any basketball court. For the first time in decades, the women's national team is dealing with a player whose influence can eclipse the influence of the program itself. And to a lot of people, this looks like a power play designed to remind her that no matter how big her star becomes, she is still expected to fall in line with whatever tradition, structure, or system is already in place. This wouldn't sting so badly if it wasn't part of a pattern. Remember earlier this year, when the Olympic roster was announced? Caitlin Clark, the biggest draw in the entire sport, was left off the team entirely. That decision shocked fans, analysts, and even former players. Ratings were skyrocketing whenever she played. Merchandise sales were exploding. She was selling out arenas in every city she traveled to. And somehow, all of that wasn't enough to earn her a spot on a roster that desperately needed global attention heading into the games. Now this happens right when her influence is bigger than ever. Fans are asking the same question they asked during the Olympic snub. Why does it feel like Team USA is going out of its way to issue reminder after reminder that Caitlin Clark doesn't get special treatment, even when her presence is the only reason millions of people are suddenly paying attention? And honestly, if that's the case, it's a massive miscalculation, because whether Team USA likes it or not, Caitlin Clark is the biggest star in women's basketball. That's not hype. That's not slander to veterans. That's not disrespect to the legends who paved the way. That's simply reality. Every metric, TV ratings, social media engagement, ticket sales, merchandise numbers, international interest, points to her as the driving force behind the sport's modern-day explosion. When she plays, numbers go up. When she sits, they drop. So when fans see the national team diminishing her influence, even in symbolic ways like taking away her jersey number, they immediately interpret it as a lack of appreciation for what she has done for the sport. And it's not hard to see why. Now, let's talk about Sue Bird's role in this, because this is the part that caught a lot of people by surprise. As the managing director of Team USA, she is responsible for setting the tone for the program's future. She oversees player selection, training camp decisions, and the broader culture of the team. This is not a retire and relax position. This is a job that sets the direction for Team USA for years to come. Sources say Sue Bird was blindsided by how quickly this situation exploded. Reports describe her reaction as a mixture of frustration, disbelief, and urgency as she tried to put out a fire that grew faster than anyone expected. She has reportedly been working behind the scenes to figure out how to keep Caitlin in the program without undermining whatever policy or decision caused this mess in the first place. But she is facing a massive problem, a problem that is rarely discussed openly. Caitlin Clark holds all the leverage in this situation. She doesn't need Team USA. Team USA needs her. Caitlin has already built her legacy. She has already set records that will be talked about for generations. She has already changed the business model of an entire league. She has already proven that she can draw more attention to a single regular season game than previous finals matchups combined. And she did all of that without ever wearing a Team USA jersey at the senior level. Team USA, on the other hand, stands to lose everything if she walks away. They lose the ratings boost she brings every time she steps onto floor. They lose the global audience that discovered women's basketball through her highlights and storylines. They lose the player that makes casual fans turn into diehard fans. And most importantly, they lose the momentum they so desperately need as the sport enters a new era defined by younger stars, bigger audiences, and rising expectations. This crisis also exposes a larger issue affecting women's basketball, one that goes far beyond any jersey number. For decades, players have been fighting for respect, equity, and recognition. And even in 2024, long after the sport has gained mainstream attention, players still face moments that remind them how fragile that progress can be. When someone as influential as Caitlin Clark is treated in a way that feels dismissive, it sends a message to every other player in the league. If this can happen to her, what does that mean for the rest of us? That's why this story hit so hard for so many. It doesn't feel like an isolated mistake or an innocent oversight. It feels like another example in a long chain of situations where women athletes have to fight for basic respect, even when they've earned every bit of it. And in the middle of all of this, Caitlin Clark, who has carried herself with professionalism, maturity, and positivity in every public moment, is the one being told to sacrifice something important for no apparent reason. Now, let's address one of the biggest misconceptions about the situation. The idea that Caitlin is somehow stepping on the toes of other stars like Aya Wilson, Cameron Brink, or anyone else who has also worn number 22. That isn't the issue. No one is arguing that she deserves special treatment over other players who have earned their own legacies. The problem is the timing, the lack of transparency, and the fact that the number wasn't even taken. There was no conflict. There was no overlap. There was no roster dispute. The number was free, and yet she was denied it anyway. That is why fans are siding with her. Because when something has no logical explanation, people start looking for the emotional or political explanation instead. And right now, the narrative that Team USA is threatened by her influence is spreading faster than anything the organization can control. When the official training camp roster confirmed she would be wearing number 17, the controversy became undeniable. There it was, clear as day, printed in black and white. Caitlin Clark, number 17. And that brings us to the question everyone is wrestling with at this point. What should Caitlin do? Should she draw the line and walk away from Team USA until she is treated with the respect her accomplishments deserve? Or should she compromise with the number they assigned her and use her presence to elevate the program from the inside? This is one of those rare moments where there is no easy answer. There is no obvious right or wrong. But there is one undeniable truth. Caitlin Clark has more leverage, more influence, and more power than any young star in women's basketball history. And whatever decision she makes will shape not just her own career, but the future of Team USA and the sport as a whole. Let me know what you'd do in her position. Would you walk away to prove a point? Or would you stay and force change from within? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Hit like so more people see this debate. And subscribe because this story is nowhere close to being finished. We're going to be following every twist and turn because trust me, more is coming.